Imagine the scene. It is 1985. Forbes magazine has just named Sam Walton the richest man in America. The financial press is expecting a Wall Street mogul in a tailored suit, sipping champagne in a penthouse. Instead, they get a man in a baseball cap, driving a 15-year-old pickup truck with chicken coops in the back. And then, to make absolutely sure that the world understands he is not like the other billionaires, Sam Walton puts on a grass skirt and dances on Wall Street. In public, in front of cameras, for everyone to see. The richest man in America, the founder of the largest retail empire on the planet, wearing a hula skirt and embarrassing himself for sport. Why would he do this? Was it a bet gone wrong? Was it a midlife crisis? Was it just an old man losing his mind? No, it was a calculated business move. One of the most brilliant, ruthless, and effective pieces of personal branding in the history of American capitalism. Sam Walton understood something that most chief executive officers never learn. The most powerful marketing tool is not a Super Bowl commercial. It is not a celebrity endorsement. It is not a viral social media campaign. It is authenticity, or rather, the appearance of authenticity. The humble hat, the old pickup truck, the small-town accent, the grass skirt. It all fed the narrative that Sam Walton was just a regular guy who got lucky. Just a good old boy from Arkansas who happened to stumble into a fortune. Nothing to see here. Nothing threatening. Just your neighbor who happens to own a few stores. Behind that humble hat and that old pickup truck lay the most ruthless, efficient retail machine in human history. A machine that would crush every competitor in its path. A machine that would rewrite the rules of supply chain management. A machine that would grow from a single dud store in a dying town to a $900 billion empire. Sam Walton was not a lucky bumpkin. He was a strategic genius. He was a master of psychological warfare. He was an architect of systems so efficient that they are still being studied decades after his death. Subscribe to this channel now. Over the next 5,000 words, I am breaking down the hidden algorithms of Sam Walton's success. The tactics that beat Wall Street's elite without spending a dime on traditional marketing. The strategies that turned a failed variety store into the largest company in the world. You do not want to miss this. Sam Walton was born in 1918 in Kingfisher, Oklahoma. The world into which he entered was not one of opportunity. It was one of scarcity. The First World War was ending. The Spanish flu was raging. And the economy was in chaos. His father, Thomas Walton, was a farmer. He was also a loan shark, a real estate speculator, and a man who never quite managed to hold on to a dollar. Thomas was the kind of man who would sell you a mule in the morning and try to buy it back for half the price in the afternoon. He was brilliant, restless, and completely unable to accumulate wealth. Every dollar he made, he lost. Every opportunity he found, he squandered. The family moved constantly, from Oklahoma to Missouri to Kentucky, chasing jobs that never quite materialized, living in houses that never quite felt like home. Sam learned two things from his father. First, hard work alone does not make you rich. His father worked harder than anyone Sam ever met. He was up before dawn, in bed after midnight, always scheming, always planning, always chasing the next deal. And he died broke. Second, cash flow is everything. His father's problem was not that he did not make money. It was that he could not keep it. He spent as fast as he earned. He invested in risky schemes that never paid off. He borrowed money to cover old debts, and then borrowed more money to cover the new debts. He was a financial disaster. Sam watched this. He internalized it. And he swore to himself that he would never, ever be his father. The Great Depression sealed the lesson. The Walton family, like millions of others, lived on the edge of starvation. Sam learned to make do with nothing. He learned to fix things that were broken instead of buying new ones. He learned to wear clothes until they were threads. He learned that a penny saved was not just a penny earned. It was survival. His mother, Nan Walton, was the opposite of his father. She was frugal. She was disciplined. She was the one who kept the family from falling into complete destitution. She taught Sam that waste was a sin, that thrift was a virtue, and that the only money you could truly count on was the money you did not spend. Sam Walton did not start with a silver spoon. He started with a mortgage and a desperate need to survive. If you were raised in a world where every cent was a fight, would you grow up to be generous or obsessed with cost-cutting? Drop a comment below. Are you a spender or a saver by nature? Because the answer to that question explains more about your financial future than any investment strategy ever will. Sam Walton was not generous. He was obsessed. He was not just frugal. He was pathologically, almost comically, cheap. And that cheapness, that obsession with cutting costs, would become the foundation of the Walmart empire. After graduating from the University of Missouri with a degree in economics, Sam Walton did what every ambitious young man in 1940 did. He looked for a job, and the job he found was at JCPenney in Des Moines, Iowa. It was not a glamorous position. He was a management trainee. He made $75 a month. He lived in a tiny room above a garage. But JCPenney was, at the time, the gold standard of American retail. The company had over 1,600 stores. It had a reputation for quality, for customer service, for treating employees fairly. And it had a training program that was the envy of the industry. Sam Walton did not just learn retail at JCPenney. He treated the company like a laboratory. He carried a notebook everywhere. He wrote down everything. What sold? What did not sell? Why customers walked in? Why customers walked out? How long they lingered at the display case? What they looked at before they left? How much they spent? How much they complained? How much they smiled? Every store layout, every price tag, every customer interaction was recorded in his notebook. He was not just working. He was reverse engineering the entire retail business. He was building a mental model of how to move products from factories to customers as efficiently as humanly possible. Then came the war. Sam Walton served in the United States Army as a captain in the Intelligence Corps. He was stationed in California, Oregon, and Utah, where he ran security at aircraft plants and prisoner of war camps. It was not combat, but it was management. It was logistics. It was the art of moving people and supplies across vast distances under tight deadlines. The Army taught him discipline. It taught him execution. It taught him how to read the terrain, both literally and metaphorically. Most importantly, it taught him that the difference between success and failure was often just the quality of your planning. A poorly planned operation failed before it started. A well-planned operation could survive almost anything. When the war ended, Sam Walton came home with a clear vision. He was going to open his own store. He borrowed $20,000 from his father-in-law, added $5,000 of his own savings, and bought a Ben Franklin variety store in Newport, Arkansas. The store was a dud. It was losing money. It was poorly stocked. It was poorly managed. The previous owner had given up. But Sam saw something that no one else saw. He saw potential. He saw a system that could be optimized. He saw a way to turn a loser into a winner. He spent the next 5 years turning that store into the most profitable Ben Franklin franchise in the entire region. And then his landlord refused to renew his lease. He was kicked out, forced to start over from scratch. He did not complain. He did not sue. He simply packed up his family, moved to a smaller, even more depressed town called Bentonville, and started again. This time, he would not rent. He would own. And he would never, ever, let anyone have power over him again. If you are looking for the blueprint to outperforming your competitors, hit that subscribe button. You are about to see how a small-town grocery store effectively declared war on the biggest giants in the industry. The story is just getting started. By 1962, Sam Walton had a problem. He had built a successful chain of variety stores in small towns across Arkansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. But he could see the future. The future was discount retail. Kmart was opening massive stores in cities across America. Woolworth was converting its variety stores to discount formats. The giants were coming. And if Sam Walton tried to compete with them in the cities, he would be crushed. He did not have their capital. He did not have their supply chains. He did not have their name recognition. He had one advantage, and one advantage only. He knew the small towns. While Kmart and Target and Woolworth fought over the suburbs and the shopping malls, Sam Walton made a decision that seemed insane to every retail expert in the country. He would open his first Walmart in Rogers, Arkansas, a town of just 5,000 people. He would open his second in Harrison, Arkansas, a town of 6,000. He would open his third in Siloam Springs, a town of 7,000. He would not go near a city. He would stay in the backwaters, the hinterlands, the places that the giants had written off as unprofitable. The biggest retail chains laughed at him. They called it the dime store strategy. They said there was not enough population density to support a discount store. They said he would go bankrupt within 5 years. They were wrong. They were spectacularly, catastrophically wrong. The logic was brutal and simple. In a small town, Walmart did not have to compete. It was the only game in town. The local hardware store could not match its prices. The local grocery store could not match its selection. The local clothing store could not match its volume. Walmart came in, offered lower prices than anyone had ever seen, and within 3 years, every competing business in town was either closed or on life support. There were no protests. There were no boycotts. There was just the quiet, efficient, merciless extinction of small-town retail. And then, once Walmart had established a beachhead, once it had crushed the local competition, it would open another store in the next small town, and then the next, and then the next. The stores formed a ring, a circle of blue and red signs surrounding the cities. By the time Kmart realized what was happening, it was too late. Walmart had already built a fortress around their territory. The giants could not attack because the giants were already surrounded. The biggest retail chains laughed at him for opening in towns with only a few thousand people. They thought there was no profit there. In business, would you rather be a big fish in a small pond or a medium fish in a crowded ocean? Let me know which strategy you think is safer in the comments. Because Sam Walton's answer was clear. He would rather be the only fish in a small pond than one of 1,000 fish in an ocean. And that choice, that willingness to ignore conventional wisdom, to embrace the backwaters, to go where the giants would not follow, is what made him a billionaire. Chapter 5. Technological Sovereignty, the $24 million gamble. By the 1980s, Walmart was the largest retailer in the United States. But Sam Walton knew that size was not a guarantee of survival. He had seen giants fall before. He had watched Sears and Woolworth and Montgomery Ward decline from dominance to irrelevance. He was determined that Walmart would not suffer the same fate. The key, he believed, was speed. The speed of information. The speed of inventory. The speed of money. He needed to know, in real time, what was selling, what was not selling, and what needed to be reordered. He needed to eliminate the lag between the cash register and the factory. He needed to build a nervous system for his empire. In 1987, Sam Walton made a decision that shocked the business world. He spent $24 million to launch a private satellite network. $24 million. In 1980s money, that was an enormous sum. It was more than most companies spent on their entire technology budget for a decade. And he spent it on satellites. Satellites that would connect every Walmart store, every distribution center, every supplier, in a single, unified, real-time network. The press thought he was crazy. Wall Street thought he was wasting money. His own board of directors was skeptical. But Sam understood something that no one else understood yet. Data is power. Speed is power. Information is power. The satellite network allowed Walmart to do something that no other retailer could do. It allowed them to track inventory down to the individual item in every store in real time. When a customer bought a toaster in Tulsa, that transaction was instantly transmitted to the distribution center in Arkansas, which automatically triggered an order to the factory in China, which sent a replacement to the warehouse, which shipped it to the store, all before the customer had even finished walking to their car. The process was seamless, invisible, and devastatingly efficient. Competitors like Kmart were still using paper forms and telephone calls. They were operating in the dark ages. Walmart was operating in the future. The satellite network was not just a technology investment. It was a declaration of war. It was Sam Walton saying, "I am willing to spend whatever it takes to know more, to move faster, and to be smarter than you." And that willingness, that obsession with information superiority, is why Walmart survived while its competitors died. If you want to understand the real secret behind Walmart's success, it is not low prices. It is not small towns. It is not even Sam Walton's charisma. It is the satellite network. It is the data. It is the speed. Sam Walton was a paradox. He was the richest man in America, and he drove a 15-year-old pickup truck. He was a ruthless competitor who crushed every business in his path, and he called his employees associates. He was a micromanager who obsessed over every detail of every store, and he trusted his store managers to make million-dollar decisions on their own. The key to understanding Sam Walton is the 10-foot rule. Every Walmart associate, from the store manager to the stock boy, was required to make eye contact with any customer who came within 10 feet, smile, and ask if they needed help. It sounds simple. It sounds obvious. But it was revolutionary. In the 1980s, most retail employees avoided customers. They hid in the back room. They pretended to be busy. Sam Walton insisted that his employees engage. Not because he was a nice guy, because engagement drove sales. Happy customers spent more money, and employees who felt empowered to help customers were more likely to stay with the company. Sam Walton also treated his employees as partners. He called them associates. He gave them stock options. He shared the profits. He believed that if employees felt like owners, they would act like owners. And he was right. Walmart associates were more productive, more loyal, and more motivated than employees at any competing retailer. The critics said it was a gimmick. They said Sam was just trying to avoid unions. Maybe, but the results speak for themselves. Walmart grew faster, earned more money, and crushed more competitors than any retailer in history. Sam Walton died in 1992, just 2 weeks after being awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. He left behind a company with over 2,000 stores, revenues of over $50 billion, and a culture that would survive him. His son, Rob Walton, took over as chairman. The transition was smooth. The empire did not miss a beat. Sam had built more than a company. He had built a machine that did not need him to run, a machine that would continue to grow, to dominate, to crush, long after he was gone. Sam Walton left behind more than a store. He left behind a management philosophy that is still being studied in every top MBA program today. He proved that you do not need to be born rich to die rich. You do not need to be a genius to be a visionary. You just need to be obsessed. Obsessed with costs. Obsessed with customers. Obsessed with speed. Obsessed with information. Obsessed with winning. If you have been inspired by the grit behind his success, smash that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the figures who actually shaped the modern world. Next week, we are dissecting how Amazon took these same principles and moved them online. You do not want to miss it. This is Auto Archives. We do not build myths. We tear them apart. We show you the bleeding truth. Subscribe if you want to keep seeing behind the curtain. The algorithms do not want you here, but you already knew that.